Stop eating the so-called healthy foods your doctor keeps recommending because according to a growing body of research, some of the most powerful cancer-fighting weapons on the planet are not found in any prescription bottle. They're sitting right now in your grocery store, probably costing less than $5, and most physicians will never bring them up in a 15-minute appointment. My name is Dr. William Lee. I'm a physician scientist and the author of research that has been published in Science, the New England Journal of Medicine, and presented at the National Institutes of Health. And today I'm going to share with you 5 foods that the latest oncology research suggests can dramatically lower your risk of cancer, especially if you are over the age of 50. Now, before I go any further, I want to mention a landmark study published by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health that followed over 100,000 Americans for more than 20 years. And what they found was staggering. People who regularly consume specific anti-angiogenic foods, and I'll explain what that means in just a moment, had up to a 47% lower incidence of the most aggressive, life-threatening cancers compared to those who didn't. 47%, that is not a rounding error. That is nearly half the cancer risk gone through food, and the people who benefited the most, those over the age of 50. Your body at this stage of life is not broken. It is actually more responsive to these specific nutritional signals than it was when you were 30. The science on this is clear, and I'm going to walk you through every detail. Now, I have to tease this early because I know you want to stay until the end. The number 1 food on this list is something that most people throw in the garbage every single week. Most of us have been conditioned to see it as waste, as something unwanted. But researchers at the University of Illinois have identified a compound inside this food so potent that it caused cancer cells self-destruction in laboratory settings at a rate of over 60%. You will be stunned when we get there. So please stay with me to the very end. Before we dive into the list, I want to ask you something personal. Leave a comment below and tell me 2 things. How old you are and what is the one health concern that keeps you up at night? Is it cancer, heart disease, memory? I read every single comment on this channel and your answers genuinely shape the content we create here. So take 10 seconds, scroll down and let me know. Your voice matters in this community. Alright, we are counting down from number 5 to number 1, ranked from powerful to absolutely extraordinary. Let's begin. Coming in at number 5, and do not let its simplicity fool you, this food has quietly become one of the most studied anti-cancer agents in the entire field of nutritional oncology. We are talking about green tea and more specifically the catechins inside it, particularly one called EGCG, which stands for epigalactocin gallate. I know that sounds complicated, but think of EGCG like a highly trained security guard that patrols your body's cellular neighborhood around the clock. When it spots a cell that has started behaving abnormally, the kind of cell that could eventually become cancerous, it signals that cell to shut itself down before it causes any damage. This process is called apoptosis, which simply means programmed cell death. It sounds alarming, but it is one of the most important protective mechanisms your body has. Now here is why this matters so much after the age of 50. As we age, our cells accumulate damage from decades of exposure to environmental toxins, UV radiation, processed foods, and oxidative stress. A study published in the journal Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers and Prevention analyzed data from over 69,000 Chinese women and found that those who drank green tea regularly had a 57% lower risk of developing colorectal cancer. A separate study out of the University of Southern California found similar protective effects against breast and prostate cancer, specifically in the over 50 population. Why? Because by midlife, your body's natural DNA repair mechanisms have begun to slow down by approximately 30 to 40%. Your cells are less efficient at catching their own mistakes. EGCG essentially acts as a backup repair system, stepping in where your body's own defenses have started to thin. For maximum benefit, you want to drink 2 to 3 cups of Japanese green tea per day, specifically matcha or sencha varieties, which contain up to 3 times more EGCG than standard tea bag green tea. The critical preparation tip here is this. Do not add boiling water. Water that is too hot, above 80 degrees C, destroys a significant portion of the catechins. Let your kettle sit for about 2 minutes after boiling, then brew. Drink your first cup in the morning, ideally 30 minutes before eating, when your gut lining is most receptive. Here is the synergy tip that most people miss. Pair your green tea with a small squeeze of fresh lemon juice. The vitamin C in lemon has been shown in studies from Purdue University to increase EGCG absorption by 6 times. That one small habit can turn a good cup of tea into a genuinely therapeutic one. Scientific references for everything I'm sharing today are linked in the description below. And now, as we move from number 5 to number 4, I want you to prepare yourself because the next food on this list is one that millions of seniors have actually been told to avoid due to outdated and frankly incorrect dietary advice. What you're about to hear may surprise you. Number 4, eggs. Specifically the whole egg, yolk included, from pasture-raised hens. Now I can already hear some of you thinking, Dr. Lee, I was told eggs raise my cholesterol. I understand. That message was hammered into an entire generation of Americans for decades, but the latest research tells a very different and far more empowering story. I want to tell you about Margaret, a 71-year-old retired school teacher from Asheville, North Carolina. When Margaret came to my attention, she had been avoiding egg yolks for nearly 30 years because her physician had told her they were dangerous. She was tired. Her muscles were weakening, a condition called sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass, and her inflammatory markers were elevated. When we restructured her diet to include 2 to 3 whole eggs daily, along with other changes, her follow-up labs at 6 months showed something remarkable. Her C-reactive protein, which is a key marker of systemic inflammation, dropped by over 40%. Her muscle mass improved, and her energy levels, by her own account, were better than they had been in 15 years. Here's the science. Egg yolks are one of the richest dietary sources of a compound called choline. Researchers at the University of North Carolina found that women with the highest dietary choline intake had a 24% lower risk of breast cancer compared to those with the lowest intake. Choline plays a critical role in what's called methylation. Think of methylation like a set of tiny sticky notes your body places on your DNA to control which genes get switched on or off. When methylation patterns are disrupted, cancer-promoting genes can activate. Choline helps keep those sticky notes properly placed, keeping the dangerous genes quiet. After the age of 60, your body's ability to synthesize choline internally drops by nearly 35%, which means dietary sources become even more critical. Additionally, the yolk contains lutein, zeaxanthin, and selenium, a trio of compounds that work together to suppress the kind of chronic low-grade inflammation that researchers at Johns Hopkins have linked to up to 90% of all cancer cases. Inflammation is not just swelling, it is at the cellular level a constant low-level fire that over years and decades creates the conditions in which cancer can take root and grow. For optimal benefit, eat 2 to 3 whole eggs from pasture-raised hens 3 to 4 times per week. Soft boil or poach them rather than frying. High heat in oils can damage the delicate fats in the yolk. The synergy tip here, eat your eggs alongside any leafy green vegetable. The healthy fats in the yolk dramatically enhance the absorption of fat-soluble cancer-fighting compounds like lutein and beta-carotene from the greens. It is a combination that multiplies the protective effect of both foods simultaneously. Now stay with me because number 3 on this list is a food that has been used medicinally for over 4,000 years, and modern oncology research is finally catching up to what ancient practitioners always knew. Number 3 is turmeric, specifically its active compound curcumin. And before you think this is just wellness influencer territory, let me give you the numbers because they are extraordinary. A meta-analysis published in the journal Nutrients, reviewing 35 separate clinical trials across multiple countries, found that curcumin supplementation was associated with a statistically significant reduction in multiple cancer biomarkers, including NFKB, which is essentially the master switch that controls inflammation at the cellular level. Think of NFKB like a faulty thermostat stuck in the on position. When it stays on too long, your body stays in a constant state of cellular inflammation, and that persistent inflammation creates the perfect breeding ground for tumor development. Curcumin, the research shows, has the unique ability to reach into that thermostat and reset it. What makes this especially relevant for people over 50 is the interaction between curcumin and what researchers call the hallmarks of aging. After 60, your mitochondria, those are the tiny energy-producing factories inside every cell in your body, begin to become less efficient. They produce more waste products and less clean energy. This mitochondrial dysfunction both accelerates aging and creates oxidative stress, which damages DNA. Researchers at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston have published findings showing that curcumin directly supports mitochondrial function and reduces the oxidative burden that accumulates in aging cells, essentially buying your cells more years of healthy function. Now, here's the frustration that most people encounter with turmeric. Eaten on its own, curcumin has very poor absorption. Your gut processes it quickly, and most of it passes through without being absorbed. This is where the preparation becomes critical. You must combine turmeric with black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, and studies show that adding just a small amount of black pepper to turmeric increases curcumin absorption by 2,000%. That is not a typo, 2,000%. This is a fact documented by researchers at St. John's Medical College in India and replicated in multiple subsequent studies. The synergy tip for maximum effect goes one step further. Combine turmeric and black pepper with a healthy fat, olive oil, coconut oil, or even the egg yolk we just discussed, because curcumin is fat-soluble and requires fat for proper uptake into the bloodstream. A warm golden milk made with turmeric, black pepper, and full-fat milk or coconut milk consumed in the evening is one of the most bioavailable ways to deliver therapeutic levels of curcumin to your body. Aim for 1 TSP of high-quality turmeric powder combined with a pinch of black pepper daily. If you are using a supplement, look for one that contains piperine or is in a liposomal form. Now, I promised you earlier that number 2 would be something surprising, and I want you to hear me clearly when I tell you this. The food I'm about to describe is one that millions of seniors have either never thought to eat regularly or have actively been avoiding because they were told it was too starchy, too high carb, or too old-fashioned. What the research actually shows is that this food contains a specific type of compound that has been shown to literally starve cancer cells of their blood supply. Let's get to it. This is a good moment to pause and say, if you are finding this information valuable, if even one thing I've shared today has surprised you or made you think differently about how you eat, please take a second right now and hit that subscribe button. And if you have a friend or a family member over 50 who you love and want to protect, share this video with them before you forget. Every single person who subscribes and shares helps this channel reach more seniors who need this information. Now, let's get to number 2. Number 2, cooked tomatoes. Not raw tomatoes, cooked. And this distinction is so important that it fundamentally changes how you should be thinking about this food entirely. Let me introduce you to Robert, a 67-year-old retired firefighter from Phoenix, Arizona. Robert had a family history of prostate cancer. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment a new video goes live. And now I want to hear from you. 1, 2. Leave a comment below and tell me which of these 5 foods surprised you the most. Was it the broccoli sprouts? The eggs? Turmeric? And have you already been eating any of these regularly? I read every comment personally, and I look forward to hearing your story. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. Ooh,